You guys ready?
Yep.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome to another episode of the True Beast Podcast, brought to you by XDOG.com, where you can find the world's greatest fitness and health enhancement harness for dogs, the XDOG Fitness Vest. Exercising your dog has never been easier than with the XDOG Fitness Vest. So if you're looking to invest into your dog's health, be sure to check out XDOG.com. And in today's episode, we got a very special guest, a friend of mine, person who actually used to work here for us and bring massive value, and now she's an entrepreneur, which is, man, this is what I always love seeing. Her name is Hannah Keith from Wild at Heart Training Academy here in Fort Worth, Texas. What's going on, Hannah?
Hey, not too much. How about you?
Everything's good. So you moved down here, right? From, it was Indiana, right?
I'm from Indiana, but I was out of Arkansas before I moved here.
Okay, yeah, so I know her from being from Indiana. She came down here, she took a venture, got a customer service position here at XDOG, and I always love seeing people who used to work here, exit out and actually go and thrive and do something on their own. So to see you become a trainer and be an entrepreneur, I'm very proud of it, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you, it's been a journey.
And so tell us about your experience, as far as, by the way, we got Trevor here. The man, Trevor. But yeah, tell us about your experience. What made you decide to get into dog training?
I got into dog training. One, was never allowed to have dogs growing up, so I was very obsessed with them because I never had access to them.
Yeah.
So I started in the grooming business. So I was a dog bather for a lot of years. And then when I finally got my own dog, I did all of the things wrong that you could do as like a normal
dog person.
All the things wrong. And so kind of rehabbing my dog to become better, like a better companion for me, helped me find passion in that. And then I went to school for that specifically.
Where'd you go to school at?
So I have a bachelor degree in animal behavior from Purdue University, and then I went to Starmark Academy here in Texas, and I'm a certified canine trainer and behavior specialist.
All right. What's the process of going through something like Starmark? Why did you choose Starmark? I know Morgan and
I'm more interested in Purdue.
Yeah.
The Boilermakers.
Boilermakers, yeah.
I think, is it Purdue or one of those schools, they the only place that gives boxing scholarships as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but that's really cool.
Yeah. No, boxing's good.
Keep going. I'm like, that's not.
I'm a
That's what I was there for.
I'm an Illini fan, so it's just but
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so you don't have to go to school, any kind of schoolwork to do what I'm doing, the animal behavior and training, but I did not have good sources around me when I was in Indiana, so I decided to go to a school to have someone teach me the science behind it, have hands-on experience from other knowledgeable people, instead of just trying it on my own. Yeah,
I think that has to do with a lot of things that it's very important, right? When you talk about anything in life, a lot of people try to guess their way through it when it's just easier to just go find a goddamn mentor, right?
Yeah, definitely.
When you talk about science, kind of explain to people what you mean by the science behind it.
Yeah, so there's lots of scientists that have looked at specific behavior and why animals do certain things for certain reasons, and so whether you're a rat or a bird or a dog, those things are going to be inherently in your brain. Those are the things that are causing certain things. And so when we can take the science behind why your dog might be doing certain things, then we can find a better solution to overcome that problem.
Sure. That's really interesting to me, because when you think about it, when you look at a deer or a rabbit, there's a very consistent breed specific, right, or a certain bird, right? When we talk about dogs and all the different variations and breeds and the combinations of different genetics, how much does science play a role in that? You know what I mean? Because, you look at a Labrador compared to an English Bulldog compared to a Terrier, for example. Explain that.
Yeah, so every breed has been bred genetically to produce certain traits, and so it's not, you can't be really cookie cutter, so I can't treat a working Doberman the same as I'm going to treat a comfort retriever. Yeah. So there are going to be different ways that we use that science, or maybe the science isn't applied to one of the dogs because they don't have those same issues as a different breed, but the baseline of a lot of things that we do, we use positive reinforcement to encourage the things that we like, and then the negative reinforcements and stuff like that to say, hey, these are things we don't like, and then teach the dogs how to learn no matter where they're coming from.
Yeah. As a listener, explain the difference between positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement, because when people think negative, maybe are you hitting the dog? Are you punting? What kind of, what kind, do you get a lot of kickback from that? pet parents?
Yeah, sometimes it's a little difficult because there's a huge fad between force-free training and balance training and compulsion training. So force-free training is where they don't tell the dog no, typically, and then compulsion training is the opposite, where we don't see a lot of rewards doing that. We're kind of forcing the dog to do it a lot. So for balance training, we're trying to use a little bit of both. We're saying, hey, here are the things we like and I want you to offer, but I am going to limit you with the things that you're not supposed to do and let you know, like, there is going to be a consequence for that.
Yeah.
So punishment sounds scary, but punishment does not mean abuse. So it's just really giving your dog boundaries and structure, and then sometimes the negative, like the stuff that they offer that we don't like to see, is self-rewarding. So we do have to create a little bit of sometimes discomfort to show the dog, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be offering that.
Yeah.
So when you look at the 4 quadrants, so there's positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. That sounds very sciencey. So the breakdown is, if it says positive, that means you're adding something. So positive reinforcement means you're adding like a treat.
Yeah.
Negative is going to mean you're taking something away. So if you're looking at negative reinforcement, you're taking away, say, leash pressure, and the reward is the release of the leash pressure.
Yeah.
So positive and negative, adding something, subtracting something. Reinforcement means it's more likely to happen. Negative punishment means it's less likely to happen.
Yeah.
So it's just really sciencey ways of saying we're going to use all 4 quadrants to produce things we like and discourage things we don't like.
I mean, that makes sense when you really think about it. I mean, you know,
is there a right or wrong way? Is there like an exact way, or is?
It just kind of depends on the dog. So I do both pet dogs for my business, and I do working dogs for my personal, like, on the side thing. And so when I treat my working dog a certain way, the pet dogs that I do on the side might not be able to be trained the exact same way. So I could be a lot more maybe like rough because I'm building a lot more drive with my working dog versus my pet dogs. We do a lot more calm. And so if I try to do like what I'm doing with my working dog on my pet dog, they might shut down a little bit because they weren't made to handle as much pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with that with bravado. I have to be very careful on how I communicate with him because
Sensitive.
he's sensitive.
Yeah.
I'm talking. It's like he gets in his feelings, man. Like. Especially if he doesn't know you. Like, when you walked out there, like, he was kind of like, I don't know you yet. But once he gets to know you, he's cool, right? But he's a sensitive dog. We're Triton, man. I'm like, dude, get the 2x4, man. He ain't gonna listen to nothing right now. He's always hard-headed, bro. So I understand because I have 4 dogs now that are just, the personality traits are just completely different. And it seems like, from my perspective, because we deal with so many different types of trainers, right? Especially being in our business, man, there's just so much conflict within the communities. Why do you think that is, and what do you think a solution is for it?
I don't want to say things that are like really controversial, but I know that
you should. It's okay.
Okay. So I'm a balance trainer, but I started very positive only. And the way that I started was, I don't want to hurt my dog. I don't want them to feel sad about anything. And through my journey, I was like, but there's some things that I'm not able to overcome because I'm not setting proper boundaries.
Yeah.
But some people, there's some dogs that can do very well with the positive only and not giving them consequences. But most of the dogs I see, you just tell them no and you give them a consequence and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So instead of popping my dogs full of pills to make them sedated all day, every day, I'm going to give my dog boundaries so they go, okay, I understand how to live in the human world a little bit better. And then the relationship ends up being better.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. When I went out to Caesars, the dog psychology center, it's like, it was kind of crazy. We had a big fluctuation of people who love what we're doing and getting behind it. Then we had a big fluctuation of people who are like, fuck Caesar, and it's kind of crazy. But then you go out there and you really watch him deal with animals and like the science behind it. He's really big on energy, and it was just a very unique experience because I've been around a bunch of working dog people, like Derek and all of them, and they train in PSA and there's people that train in IGP and stuff like that, and it's just 2 completely different worlds, and to get a dog to do a certain thing in that sport, it's completely different, and so you compete in both now, right? Or you train in both?
I started with IGP, but now I'm doing PSA.
Explain to people what IGP is and PSA.
IGP, it's a very long German word that I can't pronounce, but it used to be Schützen, and then it was what was it before IGP? I can't remember. But basically, they're both protection sports, IGP and PSA. But IGP, you start with your introductory level, which is your BH, which is just basically your obedience and temperament test, before you get into IGP 1, 2, and 3, which are going to lead more towards your advanced obedience, tracking, and protection. Your PSA is going to do very similar things. Your introductory is going to be your PDC before you get into PSA 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So the big difference is that IGP does tracking, and then their protection work is with a forearm sleeve, versus PSA is typically on a suit, and there's no tracking.
Yeah. What club do you train with here right now?
I am with Coy's Club, and I cannot off the top of my head remember.
Everybody calls it Coy's Club because there's no Coy.
There's so many that kind of sound the same with the club name, so I just know it's Coy's Club, and he's amazing. You
do any decoy work, or you just do the handling?
I'm doing decoy work as well.
How do you like that?
It's exhilarating. Yeah, it's very fun. You get a little beat up, but it feels really powerful to be in there and see this crazy looking dog barking up at your face.
Yeah. It's a unique sport. I mean, protection sport in general is kind of crazy, because there's just so many people with so many different variations. Some people do personal protection that don't compete in sport, and it seems like, I don't know, man. I think that when you really look at the things in a different variation, like you said, there's no cookie cutter way to train a dog. And I think, I mean, every day I get online, it's one trainer critiquing another trainer versus another trainer and another trainer and another trainer. It's crazy, man. Is it like that in the fitness world?
I mean, I wouldn't know. I tune people out. I mean, people send me more profiles about this. I said, bro, I really don't care what nobody's doing. So I literally have no clue. I would imagine so.
I always hear it all the time. Like Andy, he always talks about it. Like a lot of these trainers criticize the 75 hard and stuff like that all the time, right? And he's like, this is what it is, right?
Yeah, stick to your plan, keep your head down, stay in your lane.
So let's talk about Wild at Heart training, right? Okay, where did the name come from?
So when I was thinking of my name, I want people to realize that dogs are still animals,
yeah.
right? So I know we treat them like children a lot of the times and take them all the way with us wherever we go, but they are still animals at the end of the day, so we do need to respect that side of them, which is why we can't treat them like children a lot of the time.
Yeah. So
letting people know that dogs are wild at heart helps kind of them change their mindset a little bit and have more success.
Yeah. Now, starting your own business, what were some of the challenges that you faced this so far? How long have you been at this right now? About a year, right?
Yeah, I started Wild at Heart Canine Academy August 2020.
Okay.
So kind of around COVID, I moved here to Texas and started that with my sister, who I trained myself. We started out of our house, which was crazy.
No, it's great. I started out of my house, so
But we have our own facility now in Fort Worth, Texas, and it's been a lot of fun. Our challenges were, we didn't take out any loans, so just kind of figuring out the business side of it. I never took business classes, so kind of just making things up as we go.
Welcome to the real world of being an entrepreneur.
Yes, training is easier than being a business owner, definitely.
I hate being a business owner.
Yes.
I would talk about it all the time. I mean, I like to be a visionary and create products and bring value to people. But
That's the fun part.
I don't like the paperwork behind it and all that other shit.
Yes.
And managing people, it's...
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough. Now, unfortunately, that's good that you didn't take out any loans. I think a lot of people, from what I've been taught and from my personal experience, when you are given a lot of money, right, to go make mistakes, you miss the whole part of the journey. You know what I mean?
You also start buying and investing in things you don't need.
Yeah.
I know a guy who got a $50,000 loan and started buying cameras and stuff. I said, bro, you can't take a good photo with your iPhone. What are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
He's like, and then he just bought another camera. I said, but don't ever call me again.
Yeah.
That's just buffoonery. That's the problem. But when you repurpose your thoughts, the more money you have to let you actually do it. When you get around wealthy people, they're having $10,000 in the bank, and they don't need to go spend money. When people have little, you'd be surprised. Most of the time they go spend more. Hey, back to zero.
A lot of things that I've learned, just my most valuable lessons as an entrepreneur was with my back against the wall, and we're like, oh shit, I don't know how.
We're best under pressure.
Yeah. And so sometimes as an owner, I put myself under pressure. That's one of the things I'm kind of scared about in 2022 is because now I've learned a lot of the mistakes and everything, and I'm like, okay, I can go all in on this area, and it's like everything should be good. What is going to be the curveball this year that's going to teach me the most massive lesson? which will take you to the next level, which is going to cause you stress. I think it's going to cause you stress, and you're going to be stressed out. But then once you figure it out, you're like, oh, I just added that to my toolbox, you know.
Yes.
And so, with Wild at Heart Training, what's your big vision? Like, what's your overall vision for it? Like, what do you want to provide consumers?
I just want to build better relationships, and you probably hear that all the time as people's slogans as dog trainers, but I really do. I like seeing my clients out in public with their dogs doing things. So I don't want your dog to be a couch potato just at home, you leave without them, you come back to them later, they go in the crate to go to bed.
Yeah.
So I want them to take them to breweries with them, and I want you to go hiking with your dog off leash and have your dog as part of your lifestyle instead of just like an ornament.
Yeah, I think one thing I've learned is like the definition of love for us is a completely different definition for love for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being present is love for dogs. Taking them for walks
purposeful.
It's purposeful. Food is love, right? And so
too much.
Yeah, too much at times, you know. And it's just one of those things where I think now, like with the internet and social media networks, like trainers have the ability, man. Like you can create an amazing career doing what you love, impacting people, changing lives, inspiring other people to become trainers, and just educate. And I've seen people, man, like especially in the training community, who are just no names, build a big platform off TikTok and Instagram, and I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is. You know, they don't compete in any type of dog sports or anything like that, but they have 2, 3, 4 million followers. It's bananas. And so, what's your experience been on social media? Like, how do you leverage it?
I needed to learn how to be better about social media. I'm not on TikTok with my business, and I know TikTok is one of the big, platforms right now. Yeah. But we are pretty big on Instagram, and I'm not, everything on Instagram is sent to Facebook. Yeah. So I am on Facebook, but we mostly deal with Instagram, like stories and the feed posts and stuff like that. But one thing I do notice on Instagram is you can be a really good dog trainer and maybe not be as noticeable on Instagram. Yeah. Or you could be not a good dog trainer and have an amazing platform, but everything looks better sometimes in those short clips. So sometimes that can be misleading.
Yeah, I think. What are you gonna say?
Nothing.
No, it's kind of like you said, man. We talk about Instagram and it's connected to Facebook, right? But then you look at TikTok, and TikTok is connected to Instagram, right? Yeah. And a lot of people are leveraging TikTok now to grow their Instagram account. Mm-hmm. And Facebook is kind of weird right now. Like Facebook ads.
I don't do much.
You know, we kill it off Facebook ads. Like it's crazy. Like it does well for us, but maybe it's because a lot of people are not on there. Advertising like we do, but man, we get a lot
of people are on there definitely advertising.
It's just weird, dude. Like our leads per dollar we spend is just like, dude, like it's really great. So I don't know, man. Like, but I think that's with every business. You got to find your channels, right? Mm-hmm. Like some people do great on Twitter, right? Now we're leveraging YouTube, and it's helping out a lot, and having a good videographer and film team, like it helps out a lot, And so you were on a recent TV show.
Yeah, so a TV show called Destination Dallas.
How'd that happen?
They called me 6 months ago maybe, and they found me on Instagram, and they are doing a segment. Each episode is like 8 to 10 small businesses in the local Dallas area, and they're just kind of doing a short blurb about each of them. They have another one called Destination LA that has like an Emmy award and stuff like that. So all they did was they came out, we did a little interview just like this. Basically, they asked me about the business, just lots of story questions, like how I got into everything, what my biggest struggles were, stuff like that. Yeah. And then they recorded the facility, and then I had a little blurbs I set up. Like I had clients come with their dogs, and we did like a big pack walk and tricks and group class type of things, as if we were doing something in person.
That's cool. So speaking of experience, so like if somebody was to get a package from you, like they reach out to you, they want to they have just a personal pet, right? And they want to get their dog trained. Yeah. What can they expect from a package that you offer, I guess, for example?
Yeah, so I have a couple different packages: private lessons, board and trains, and a hybrid program, which does a mixture of both. So
talk about each one.
Okay, so private lessons are one-on-one lessons where we meet up with you about once a week, and I'm showing you things in the lesson that you are practicing as your homework. So I'm handling the dog, and you're handling the dog in that lesson.
Now, with that, do you do evaluations as far as like before you do you accept every dog, or?
I don't accept every dog. dog, not every client is a good match for us, and we're not always a good match for them as well. But we do free evaluations for everybody, just because I find that very important to kind of set on the table my expectations for my clients, what kind of training I do, why I do it. Let's see what's going on already before we accept each other, because that can be very important. Because I'm a balance trainer, sometimes I do get, the force-free clients, and they're not comfortable with some of my tools. So I don't want to force them to use things that they didn't know I used. So I want to put everything on the table before we exchange any kind of money kind of thing.
I think we've talked about this, in this last episode, just self-honesty and truth. A lot of people in business, man, they'll tell people things just to sell them to get the initial cash, you know what I mean?
I've worked at a place like that where there was like, I don't care, just make the sale, and I'm like, I don't want to be like that because it's mine, I don't need to. It's so important. It's a long game, but it's a very important game because that's what we do, you know what I mean? Like, I don't sell people product they don't need. Like, that's a big thing for us, and it's just being upfront and being honest. I think that was one of the most challenging things for me, is just being self-honest and being able to tell people no. How's that experience for you? Because I think the power, it's something that you have to learn. You have to learn to be able to tell people no and feel comfortable with. And this doesn't mean you're an asshole, you're a jerk. You're just like, look, you're not a right fit. I can't help your dog because these are the tools I use, Yeah, that's been really hard for me. I'm not very confrontational naturally, so saying no and giving boundaries has been something I've really had to work for, and making myself really heard when I don't agree with something. It's been just a work in progress, but I've definitely gotten better, and I think the clients appreciate that, because my goal is to be everybody's friend as well as their trainer, because I want them open to come to me with any kind of questions or struggles. I don't want them to feel like, oh, I can't tell her something because she'll yell at me or something like that. But I want that to be an open communication.
No, that makes sense. So let's go into the other packages. So that's the
private lessons.
The private lessons.
Yeah, so the homework is on your shoulders. I can't go further than what you've worked on, and if you don't work on it, there's probably not going to be as much progress. I
think that's the biggest problem right there, is that people send dogs to trainers, right? And they're like, here, I got this, and this issue. What's the quick fix? And it's like, the quick fix is, it has to become a lifestyle.
Yes, I hear all the time where it's like, oh, my last training didn't work. And I'm like, but have you been doing the effort, doing the homework, at home? So even with my board and trains, which is where the dogs stay with me and I do the foundational training for you, and then we have private lessons at the end to show you what the dogs learned and how to keep up with it. If you don't keep up with it, the dog does go back.
It's kind of crazy because, I've dealt with it on the supplement side, where it's like I've had clients go to use other companies. They're like, well, does your product really work? And I'll ask them, well, what did you use? And they'll say this brand, right? And I'll be like, well, what are you trying to do? Well, I was trying to build muscle. But that's a multivitamin, right? You know what I mean? Like, did you exercise your dog? Did you increase that, healthy calorie intake? Yeah. And how long did you do it for? And I'm sure you deal with that. You've dealt with that in the fitness world. It's like, hey, let me go get training from Trevor, right? And then once I'm not with Trevor, this shit should just continue to work, right? Like,
yeah, I had a guy once who was drinking 2 liters of Coke a day. And I'm like, bruh, something's off here, man. Because normally I know this shit works.
Yeah.
And I said, bro, you're not losing fucking 2 pounds. Yeah. And he got to the nitty gritty. I said, God damn, bro, how much fucking Coke you need? And so, he got off that 2 liters and he had spots on his back. I'm like, his body went through a withdrawal.
Wow.
It was crazy to see. He was a Russian cat too, good old Yevgeny.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, man, like, you dog owners, you gotta stop holding the trainers accountable for the due diligence that you need to do and the commitment that you have to make for your dog. The dog goes home to you, and you got to create those daily habits and routines, man, that are going to build your relationship with it. They can only do so much and offer so much knowledge. You got to do the rest of the work, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so, and then you got a hybrid package.
Yeah, so that one's a mixture of both. So it's 6 private lessons total with a 2-week board and train in the middle. So if you want to be hands-on and learn the basic foundations of the leash handling to start with, and adding some of those boundaries and structure at the home before the board and train, that's a good one. So it's like 2 to 3 lessons at the beginning. They come to me to add the electronic collar and do the board and train to make things more advanced, and at the end you finish with the rest of the private lessons.
Yeah, that's dope. So is there a lot of controversy between some of the tools you use? Like, you use the e-collar, right?
Yeah, so I see some people out there like, oh, I don't like shock collars, and I'm like, this is a very different tool. It also depends on how you're utilizing it as well. So even the best tool on the market, if you're using it wrong, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And even even the tools like harnesses and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're not using them right, I've seen some harm from that as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is a tool, right?
Yeah.
You don't use a hammer.
purpose.
Yeah, you don't use a hammer to screw in a screw, right?
Yes.
You got to use the right tool and you got to use it correctly. I mean, that's one of the big things that, we finally got past after 4 years starting to educate. We're starting to see the transition of people understanding how to use the vest, right?
Yeah.
That has to do with us educating people and stuff. So, that's just one of those things, man. So, as far as like in the next 2 to 3 years, where do you see your company and your brand, your vision?
Hopefully we'll be able to widen a range of like who we accept and what kind of trainers we're bringing in as well. I want people that are very passionate and have some knowledge already under their belt, so that
Yeah.
we can get them already set up with some clients who need the help and just start helping more people in general.
Mhm.
I would like to have more land one day. That
Yeah.
would be really nice. That way we can, work on more of the off leash, go do more exercise outside.
Mhm.
But we also work a lot in dog-friendly stores as well. So
Okay.
we don't need a ton of space, but it is nice having land for sure.
So
Yeah.
are your parents, are they proud of you?
They say they are.
Well, I'm only asking because I'm curious. Do they wish they would have let you get a dog?
I'm not sure if they would do that. My mom does not like hair and she does not like slobber. I was only allowed to have like hamsters.
Yeah.
So, my dad had German Shepherds and stuff, but
Growing up,
once I left, he had a German Shepherd.
now there's a dog in the house.
But
Yes.
You look back, we talked about, I've had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. We talk about like the hardships of the journeys and stuff and coddling kids, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think, in some cases I probably ruined some of my kids, both of my kids by giving them things because I didn't want them to have the experiences I had of the struggles growing
Yeah.
up. And I'm just like, did I fuck them up? By doing that. So maybe if they gave her a dog and allowed her to have dogs, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
That's very true. Like I said, I was like, I need to see other dogs, so I'm going to go work at a place so I
Yeah.
can handle dogs a little bit more.
Yeah. It makes sense. Like my relationship with dogs is, I grew up, a bunch of insecurities, having one eye. Dogs never judge me, and so being broke and poor and stuff like that. Dogs like, let's hang out, bro. Like I'm glad to see you. I'm happy to see you. Like, and so I was like, shit, these are genuine relationships. Real friends and stuff. Well, at least I thought they were. At the end of the day, they're wild at heart, right? They're animals and stuff. So where can people find you? Do you have a website, social media? Like, do you have a website?
I do. It's WAH Canine Academy. Canine is spelled out.
Okay.
And then that's also the tag on Instagram, and Facebook is all spelled out too.
Okay. Is there any last positive messages or any advice you want to give to a new dog owner as far as just like, let's say owning a puppy or anything? What would be the top 3 tips you would give them from bringing a puppy home?
Yeah. Puppies are probably being bought a lot around Christmas time, so we're probably going to see a lot of those. So
Yeah.
crate training is 100% the thing that you need to start with
Yeah.
as soon as you get your dog. That's going to help everything from potty training, separation anxiety, learning how to be calm on command, not chewing up things you don't want them to chew on. It helps with so much of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a break from your puppy, and they need a little bit of a mental space to be able to go and reset,
Yeah.
just like kids.
Mhm.
Your leash is your best tool. Put your leash on your dog anytime they're out of the crate. Your dog does not know what's expected of them until we show them, so your leash is going to be there to increase their supervision, interrupt the things that they're not supposed to be doing, and promote things that you do like.
So when you put it on them, you just let them walk around with it and stuff, or do you have it, like, do you always have your hand on the leash?
They really shouldn't, if it's a puppy, they really shouldn't be that far away from you. There's no need for them to be in different rooms because they're more likely doing something you don't like.
Gotcha.
So you either should have them on your hand or make sure you're watching them.
Yep.
And then that way they can't perform anything.
Sure.
So my favorite quote I heard, I don't remember where it's from, I'm sorry, but it's like, train your puppy so that you can love your dog.
Yeah.
Typically people love their puppies too much, and then we have to go back later and untrain a lot of the things that they learned from over loving them.
And what's the last thing?
Adequate mental and physical exercise. I see very, very often that dogs, puppies in general, they are not getting stimulated enough mentally and then not exercised a lot. So
Well,
putting them in the backyard is not exercise.
So what would be some of the things? No, that makes sense. having a puppy, they say don't try to exercise them too much, right? Because they're still developing and stuff. So
right, so don't go on a 3-mile walk with them and let them jump and do agility and stuff like that, because we got to be worried about their joints. But little things like just going for short little walks, just short durations, or a little bit of following you around, that's good. Just be purposeful with it. So if they're really young puppies, you don't have to do a ton, but mental work is really important, teaching them things, problem solving, stuff like that. But when they get older, more walks, fetch, wearing your XDOG vest, that's super important.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, I started taking Bazooka for walks, and it was just like, it was a game changer, just introducing her to the walk. I don't have her on leash in house all the time, but I will now, it makes sense. But yeah, any last words, Trevor?
No.
Well, Hannah, it's an honor to have you back on the podcast. We're definitely going to bring you on again here in the near future. I'm so happy for you as far as your success with your business. If there's anything that we can do to help you out, you're just a call away. You know what I mean?
Thank you so much.
But yeah, guys, make sure you guys go check out Wild Heart Training if you're in Fort Worth, Texas. Be sure, if you're looking for a solid trainer, this is a trainer that we recommend. I know her personally, and so we don't just recommend any type of trainer. I always tell people, I'm not a trainer, but I have access to tons of trainers, and one of the big things here at XDOG, we always say get mentorship. Just don't go out there and do the guesswork. Go get mentorship. It's very important. You're going to save probably a ton of money, right? And you may think it's an initial cost, but look at it as an investment. Because once you get your dog right and you are able to communicate with them in a proper way, your guys' relationship is going to be so much more balanced, and it's going to be so much better, right? I mean, but again, thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
As always, guys, Team XDOG strong.
Yes.
That was a good one.
Woo, that was fun.
You guys did great.